Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a special Monday edition of the Guys Who Stare at Stats. I'm Cade Kennedy alongside Andrew Santangelo. We have a lot to talk about, mainly football today. NFL, what a wacky day we had yesterday, and college football just as crazy. But as always, starting the show with the most important question of the day, how are you doing today, Andrew?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I mean, I know it's a normal 24-hour day, but I don't know why, but today felt like the fastest day of my life. It's like I got to work at 8. Next thing I know, it's 1 o'clock for my class, and the next thing you know, it's 5 o'clock, and we're ready to do the show. Today was weird. It just flew by.
I mean, it was the same way for me. Not having a class today at 2, being told, oh, hey, we're not doing that. Just do your assignments. Just like, what do I do? I don't have anything to do. I mean, I have little things to do, but I don't have any major assignments. What do I do today? I have nothing.
It was weird. It was one of those days. But you know what? We're here. We're talking about a crazy weekend of football, and I'm ready to dive into it.
Oh, I am too. Well, let's just get right into it then. Getting at the scoreboard, obviously, Buffalo, L.A., if we want to talk about that a little bit more. I know we've already talked about it before the show started. The Bills did Bills things. 31-10, they beat up the Rams. No real need to keep harping on that. Josh Allen was Josh Allen. What a surprise.
Yeah, really. I mean, Bills were what we expected. A very good team. They added to their defense. Their defense played phenomenal. Tell you what, the Rams, they got a couple things to work on, obviously. One, Cam Akers, no show, really. I mean, he didn't do much, or he didn't do anything. Allen Robinson, no show. So, I mean, got to figure out how to get those two guys in that offense, because that offense should be pretty good. But that's where, if I'm the Rams, I'm working on that practice. Find a way to get Akers and Robinson moved.
Yep. And moving on to the first real game I want to talk about, the Saints and the Falcons had themselves a classic rivalry game where nothing could go right. This website can't even go right. It's jumping around from place to place. I mean, my goodness. I mean, we've talked about the Falcons' struggles I don't know how many times on this show. Just another classic example. Atlanta has a 26-10 lead. Younghoe, a great game. He's made 4 field goals at this point. And the Saints come back. They get it done. Jameis Winston able to get some big plays down the field. But Atlanta outgains the Falcons. Yes, they'd one more turnover than them. But you look at all the stats, 3 of the 4 go in the way of the Falcons down here in the little chart. But it doesn't matter because it's the Atlanta Falcons. It just, nothing ever seems to go their way. Marcus Mariota had a fine day, 20 for 33, 215. Cordell Patterson, I mean, he had 120 rushing yards and a TD. But they just couldn't get it done. Jameis Winston having himself a good day as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Cordell Patterson, I mean, he's a fun guy to watch. He continues to play pretty well. He's taking over that full running back spot now. I think it's funny. I mean, look at that. Saints leading rusher there, Taysom Hill. I mean, if you would have told me that before the game, I would have thought you were crazy.
The greatest running back / tight end / quarterback.
I mean, what can he do at this point? I mean, ESPN, fantasy, whoever. I mean, whatever fantasy. They need to put his eligibility back more than just a quarterback. No, but, I mean, Falcons, like you said, they won a lot of statistics here, and I think that kind of goes to show when you get off to a quick start there how skewed sometimes the stats can be a little bit. But credit to the Saints, battling back. But, yeah, Atlanta lost this in the most Atlanta way. I mean, Saints hit that big field goal late. Atlanta gets the ball back. I know it was a deep field goal there at the end, but you put yourselves in a position to get a game-winning field goal, and he misses it. So, no, unfortunate there for the Falcons. I think this is the final score in terms of who won is what we expected coming in. I think that's who we predicted in our previews last week. But, no, I mean, all in all, a great game, though. Couldn't have asked for something better.
I mean, yeah, it's what you want to start the year. Also, just looking at that win probability chart, Falcons had a 96% chance to win this game, according to ESPN's Football Power Index. Also, Jarvis Landry, 7 catches, 114. Welcome to the Saints, Mr. Landry.
I forgot he went to the Saints, and shout out to Michael Thomas coming back, 2 touchdowns. So,
yeah,
he got himself involved. Welcome back.
Yep, welcome back to everybody. But moving on to what had to be the game of the day for most people. I mean, it was just a great game to watch, and then you add in special teams blunders. Joe Burrow throws 4 interceptions. Great defensive performance. Steelers forcing 5 turnovers. But, man, they still got themselves into a rut. You're up 17-3. Everything's going your way. But all of a sudden, here come the Bengals. It doesn't matter. Joe Burrow is going to do what his thing. You tie the game up. With no time left. Bengals have a chance to win, and Minkah Fitzpatrick blocks the PAT. We go to overtime. Several missed field goals later. Chris Boswell, it's a 53-yarder, and the Steelers take care of business. 23-20. I don't know if you're either team if you want to remember this game happened. If you're the Bengals, you just throw this game away, I would think. If you're the Steelers, you look at this one for a little bit and go, okay, defense, you did your job. Offense, what are we doing, guys?
Yeah, and we'll get into this game later. But this was the BYU Baylor game of the NFL. But no, I mean, what a day for Fitzpatrick. 31-yard touchdown or interception for a touchdown. Then he gets the block to send it into overtime. Just an incredible day for him there defensively and special teams. I mean, 23-20, obviously a nice low number, good deep defensive play, like you said. But listen, this is the way, and I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie, but I picked Cincinnati. But this is what you and I have talked about before. Mike Tomlin, like no matter what kind of team he has, he will find a way to keep Pittsburgh in every game and every season, and that's what he did. He got his team ready to play. They went out and played, and he found a way to win this game. Was it a pretty win? Absolutely not. But it's also only week 1, so you expect only things to improve from here. And listen, I mean, I'm not a big Trubisky fan, but you also got to remember, offense isn't going to always look too good. I mean, you got 3 interesting quarterbacks there. They obviously had a quarterback competition throughout the offseason. Trubisky wins. We'll see what they go throughout the season. But I'll tell you what, the most surprising stat you're going to see in this game is somehow Cincinnati turns the ball over 5 times. And yet they still, I know it's a little shy of it, but basically 200 yards more than Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
How do you give the other team 5 more possessions? I know one of them was a touchdown, so you can't count that. So let's just say 4 of them.
Yeah.
But 4 extra possessions there, and you still outgain the other team by 200 yards. How is that possible?
I don't know. It's the power of not having a great offensive line, no one being able to do anything. I mean, going back up, looking at the stats, Trubisky, he throws for 194. Chase Claypool ended up being the leading rusher with 36 yards.
That's on itself.
Yeah, and then Pat Freiermuth with 75 receiving yards. He put up a good game, had the big clutch play in OT.
Is Freiermuth the guy from Penn State?
Yes, he is. He's a big tight end there. But, I mean, also T.J. Watt having the pectoral injury, also a big deal storyline for the Steelers. But I guess at the end of the day, you look at it and go, despite everything, hey, we're 1-0.
Exactly.
That's all that matters.
What
A win is a win is a win.
Yeah, and obviously T.J. Watt, I mean, we'll see how long he's out, but devastating injury there. But here's the thing. I think that defense is good enough to survive. I mean, I don't know who they got here in the upcoming weeks, but I mean, I think they'll – I mean, especially they beat a good Cincinnati team. So, I mean, I think they're going to be just fine here defensively.
I think so. We've seen what Pittsburgh can do with worse.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And then speaking of surviving, that is exactly what the Eagles did as well, getting a 38-35 win over Detroit. And Andrew, I mean, give you credit. You called this. You said, look out for Detroit. Week 1, they've got a sellout crowd. You never know what can happen that first week. I hope the Eagles can hold on, and they held on.
Yeah, I mean, what we said on the preview, I think the spread was 5, I think it was, and I said, honestly, I'd take the Lions to cover, but the Eagles to win the game. And
the Eagles were 6-point favorites.
So I guess it went up there on the final day. But, no, I mean, this – and we'll get into the other game that I said too, but it's week 1. Weird things happen in week 1 in the NFL. It's not like college. Obviously, you have a lot of those gimme games. I mean, the NFL is weird. I mean, again, the way the preseason has kind of changed, you just got a lot of new guys coming in, kind of still shaking rust off and everything, and that's what happened here. I mean, Eagles went up a little bit. They had a good second quarter to take control, but the Lions answered back and got back in the game. And, no, the Eagles definitely survived is a good word here.
I mean, just looking at some of these stats, it makes me happy to see the Lions do well because I feel like everyone, just feels bad for them after everything they've gone through. But you never want to be the team that loses to them, of course. But, I mean, Jalen Hurts, 18 for 32, 243. Jared Goff, 21 for 37, 215, 2 TDs, did throw that pick. But how about DeAndre Swift? He played a great game, nearly just averaging 10 yards a carry, 15 carries, 144.
No, he played phenomenal. He broke away. I think it was a 55-yard run in the first quarter, like first couple plays of the game. And it was kind of funny. There's a stat I saw. Yeah, I think it was the first play of the game because it was the first play of the game. He broke away for a 50-plus yard rush. Eagles didn't allow more than a 45-yard rush last season, the entire season. But here we go, first play of the season. Yeah. We go a 55-yard rush. But no, also just another weird stat to throw out there. If you would have told me the winning team didn't score in the opening quarter or the last quarter, probably the two arguably most important quarters of the game, and they still won, like it's just an incredible middle part of the game, especially when the other team scored in every quarter.
And then the other thing I want to add, the over-under for this game was 48, and a half. And the Eagles and the Lions nearly each hit them by themselves.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
This is like a college game in terms of the scoring.
It was. It absolutely was. And the Lions, I mean, they made a valiant effort at the end, just like always with Detroit. They're right there. They're right there. So
it was last year. Weren't they the team that lost in like the 60-yard field goal to Tucker?
Yes,
and they lost. Yeah, so it's just we're already starting for Detroit. Just starting earlier this year.
Yeah, it's same thing, different year. And moving on to the other, the main game I watched in the early slot, I mean, it was the game we had here in Oklahoma. Baker Mayfield, revenge game, the Baker Bowl, whatever you want to call it. It's the Browns winning at the end of the day. The first time since 2004 that Cleveland has won a home opener. The first time I can remember that has happened, and it comes on the leg of Cade York, a 58-yard field goal. And I have to say, this game was 3/4 of kind of what you'd expect if you were a really someone who didn't believe in Baker Mayfield, which a lot of people do. And the first 3 quarters, they got absolutely proved right. Panthers could not do anything. Offensive line did not look good. Defense couldn't stop anybody. Jacoby Brissett's making nice plays. Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, of course, that 1-2 combo. What a shocker there. They could still run the ball. But you get to the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden, Carolina comes to life. I think the real big spark was the low snap, and then McCaffrey takes the ball away from Mayfield and runs for 25 yards, and that seemed to be the big spark there for the Panthers. They march down the field, make it a one-possession game, and keep firing off. And, I mean, Baker is a perfect passing rating in the fourth quarter, but you got to be able to stop the other team, and they still couldn't do it. And Cade York, how about that? For a rookie, your first game, you come in and become the hero you need to be immediately.
Yeah, and I'm going to get on a coach here a little bit that I've given a lot of credit to in that rule. And I get it. Maybe you just wanted to show off Baker, try to get him going early. But, I mean, you look at Christian McCaffrey, and at no point, I mean, you can see right here the scores, is the game more than 2 possessions. I mean, at most, it's 20-7 there. Largest lead's 13, and that's still not even halfway through the third quarter yet. And you're going to tell me Christian McCaffrey only finished this game with 10 rushes? Like, I don't care if you have Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers. Like, you got Christian McCaffrey. Unless this game's 30-7 and you're actually playing full on catch up the entire game, then you can see it. But I mean, yeah, 14 nothing there early second or late second quarter, but then you get a touchdown at the end. You're only going into halftime. Well, that's another thing too. I'll wait till this part, but you go into halftime down 10, and you're gonna so I mean you're down 10 into the third quarter. Like I don't know, I didn't think they ran the ball enough. I don't think Hubbard had many carries either. So I was surprised. I mean, I don't think they ran the ball over much this entire game. And then on top of that, to your point, Cade, about closing out, even just go back to the halftime. The same thing happened. McCaff scores at 157. You give up a field goal and a 2-minute drill there before halftime. You give up another field goal. Same thing at the end of the game. You get a field goal, take the lead. Final 2 minutes of the game. And this one's even less than the halftime one, but 2-minute drill again. You give up the game-winning field goal. So, I mean, I don't know if that's the way the defensive coordinator played it, and he was like, okay, played off that, that laid-back type defense, prevent and everything. Obviously, that didn't work for both halves. So that's something Carolina's got to figure out is that end game kind of situation.
And to add to your point, Andrew, I mean, Christian McCaffrey had 10 carries, and he had 5 of them in the fourth quarter. You had 5 carries. When you're getting almost a carry a quarter, that's just ridiculous. I don't care who you are. You have one of the best running backs in the league. Give him the ball. That's what Cleveland did. That's why they won this game. They didn't make Jacoby Brissett go win this thing with his arm. They let Nick Chubb win it with his legs.
Well, no, like you said, and again, it's not even, it's Christian McCaffrey. It's not like you have, I don't know, a lower tier running back. You have arguably the best running back when healthy out there playing. And I talked about it the other day, too. I don't know, maybe I'm a little biased, but I think it's one of the better running back duos in the league. And I don't know, maybe he got hurt. I don't know. I didn't watch this whole game. It was at the same time as the Eagles, so maybe I missed Hubbard getting hurt. But Hubbard finishes the game with 1 carry. So I don't know. Maybe you paid attention to this game a little bit more than I did, probably.
I think that 1 carry was like the second drive of the game, too, and then they just never played him again. But you look at it here. Here's your big difference. Rushing leaders, McCaffrey 10 carries, Chubb 22. I mean, yes, the Browns play a more conservative offense, but there's a reason they do it. It works.
Yeah. Well, that's what I talked about. I made the joke. I think when we were talking about the previews, can we throw the quarterbacks out of this game?
Yes.
I mean, because Chubb and Hunt combined for 33 carries, and then McCaff, Foreman's their third string, and Hubbard all got carries in this game, and they combined for 13 compared to 33 carries. And then I threw out the quarterback carries and the wide receiver trick plays and all that. But if you wanted to go there, Browns ran the ball 39 times compared to Carolina 19.
I know. It's ridiculous. I don't understand it.
And again, I'm not the biggest Baker fan, but you got to help the guy too. I mean, I'll make this argument every day. I don't care which quarterback it is. Every quarterback needs a run game. You can't just pass the whole time.
You cannot throw the ball 50 times and expect to win unless you're maybe the Chiefs. Maybe.
Exactly.
But the next game we have to talk about.
Hate ties.
Truly the greatest game of the week. You know, if you're a person who loves ridiculous football like I do, the Colts and the Texans played a game so good they decided to declare no one the winner. A 20-20 tie. My goodness. I mean, you said it best, Andrew. I do not like ties either. But, man, it's funny to see when it happens, though.
Especially, it would be funnier if they lost. I got nothing against the Colts, but it's funny. All off-season, you have the GM making fun of Wentz and making it sound like Wentz is the reason they lost to the Jaguars, reason why they missed the playoffs last year. And you could have been gifted a better Week 1 game. And Matt Ryan, your quote-unquote savior to come in, fix all the Wentz leadership issues, is going to save the team, and you tie the Texans. Like, I don't know. I just found that funny. I got nothing against the Colts because I've always respected it. Obviously, the Peyton Manning days, I'm a big Wentz fan, so even last year. But, like, to have that whole thing go down the whole offseason, and then you come out and tie Houston, who's obviously supposed to be a very bad team this year after the Watson trade and everything. And, again, you come out and tie them. I mean, that was funny to me, at least.
I mean, you come out here, and, I mean, even to add to your point, Davis Mills plays a better game than Matt Ryan does when you look at comparing the QB rating and everything.
Yeah.
Just Davis Mills, 23 for 37, 242 TDs. Hey, what did we just talk about? 50, throwing the ball 50 times. Matt Ryan did it, 32 for 53, 52, and he threw a TD and a pick. Just absolutely intriguing football here. And, I mean, being completely honest, the Colts had no reason to even tie this game. Like, they were lucky to be in this position that the Texans just decided to punt this game away and not even try to go for anything.
Exactly.
And, I mean, people are going to talk about Lovie Smith, I believe Lovie Smith, doing that. But we got to talk about the Colts not even attempting a Hail Mary with 8 seconds left in overtime. Just throw one pass, and now this game's over. Like, come on.
Yeah, I guess they were scared, a pick six or something. I don't know. But I mean, even that's rare.
That risk.
You have to take, especially when you're supposed to win the game. You don't want to come out of there with a tie. If you're the Texans, maybe not, because you weren't supposed to be even in this game, so let's just get out of here. But no, absolutely, I agree with you. I mean, and I actually credit to how I like seeing him do well in this game because he just had a tough time in Tampa. It was O.J. Howard. Mm-hmm. Seeing him get the 2 touchdowns in this game was pretty big. Hopefully he has a good season and kind of can rejuvenate his career a little bit. So that was good to see there, at least from the Houston standpoint. But, and then I think it was pretty funny here, too, is this division, the AFC South, nobody won. Obviously 2 teams play each other here, but they found a way to go without a win.
And keep in mind, the Colts have still not won an opener since 2004 as well.
That's insane.
It's been 18 years now.
What's crazy about that, too, is it's not
the
like...
the Browns broke their streak before the Colts.
And what's funny about that is, the Browns have obviously been a bad team. But it's not like the Colts have been a bad team.
No, they just can't win Week 1.
They just can't win Week 1. I mean, Peyton Manning for all these years, and he obviously couldn't win Week 1. That's funny. I didn't know that was...
Yeah, I remember hearing that on Red Zone when the Browns just broke theirs. Oh, well, let's see if the Colts can do... Nope, Rodrigo Blankenship missed the field goal in overtime.
That's crazy.
Whoopsies. But, yeah, also, Indianapolis, 517 yards. Houston, 299. Once again, how in the world did you do that?
Yeah, that's a weird week. Again, Week 1 is odd. That's what I was saying. Crazy things happen in Week 1.
They absolutely do. And that's why we love it. It's great. Not only is football back, we get ridiculous games to go with it. This was another one. The Giants and the Titans, and the Giants showed up to play. They had a healthy Saquon Barkley, 18 carries, 164 and a TD. Derrick Henry, only 21 carries, 82 yards. And Danny Dimes, he showed up, 17 for 21, 188, 2 TDs. And Tannehill, 20 for 33, 266, 2 TDs. This game looked like the Titans had it in control. They're up 13-0 in halftime. And then Saquon Barkley shows up. Sterling Shepard starts making big plays. And all of a sudden, we got a tie ball game. Titans march down, take a score at the end of the third. And just how about the Giants making big-time plays here at the end? They go for 2 for the win on a TD with a minute left. and they get it. And then Randy Bullock misses a field goal, and the Titans lose. So, like you said, Andrew, no one's allowed to win in the AFC South. It's not happening.
No, I mean, this is one I never expected to see. I was shocked. Credit to, if Barkley's healthy, he's obviously a very good back. He went out and played a phenomenal game. Sterling Shepard broke away a couple plays. He didn't really see that coming. He hasn't been that. I know he was that kind of player in college, but you haven't really seen that so far from him in the NFL. He got going a little bit, and yeah, how about that? First game as a head coach, going out there for that 2-point conversion. We just talked about the Texans and Colts not taking chances, and here we have a different game.
Yeah.
This isn't like, this is obviously got 16 more games after this, so it's not the end of the world if you lose it. But listen, Giants weren't supposed to win. You're on the road. Go take that chance, I guess, and he was rewarded with it.
Yeah, I love it if you're the Giants. Hey, we're not even supposed to be in this game. Why not win it? Just go full element of surprise on them. You don't want to go to OT in someone else's stadium. That's at least how I view it.
Exactly. Yeah. It was crazy, how many close games there were in the NFL this week.
I know. And moving on to the next one, the Packers and the Vikings, a game you would expect to see the score maybe the other way. But once again, Green Bay, and this is now back-to-back years where they've come out absolutely flat in game one. Vikings winning at 23-7. Aaron Rodgers not throwing a TD pass, of course, 22-34, 195 and a pick. And Kirk Cousins comes out, plays good. I guess no one told him the Packers might be above 500.
No, Kirk Cousins, again, I think he's an undervalued quarterback. He's obviously got Justin Jefferson play a phenomenal game. Packers, they got some things to figure out, obviously. It's only week one, so it's obviously not panic mode yet. But, listen, there wasn't much help there for Rodgers. And if Dillon is going to be your leading receiver, that's an issue right there. Especially when it's your second-string running back behind Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
That's a problem right there. That's something they're going to have to figure out. Obviously, they lose Devontae Adams. They bring in Sammy Watkins. Obviously not the same player. I think they found that out. So we'll see how they adjust. But Packers got a lot of work to do there. But, again, week one, not too worried about Green Bay yet anytime you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers. But Vikings, you got to take away a lot from this game. They went out, took chances on fourth down, and went from there.
You absolutely have to. Justin Jefferson, like you said, 9 catches, 164, 2 TDs, absolutely burning the Packers. Just unbelievable. I saw a stat on a SportsCenter last night that showed it. This is the second time this has happened for Aaron Rodgers. The second time in a row the MVP has come out flat in a game. This is only the 6th time this has happened where they've come out and scored 7 points or less, and now 2 of them have been Aaron Rodgers back-to-back.
Yeah, that's why I'm not worried. He'll fix it, and again, I'm not saying they're going to go win the Super Bowl, but they're going to still make the playoffs and probably win the division.
It's one of those things that's just more odd to me than it is anything else. Moving on to the next one, the Chiefs taking on the Cardinals, and this was a clinic on how to play offense if you're Kansas City and how to not play defense if you're Arizona. Just, my goodness, absolutely blowout territory. Pat Mahomes, 30 for 39, 365, 5 TDs. Arizona's defense looked horrible. That's really all I could say about it. Now, granted, you're playing the Chiefs, one of the best offenses in the NFL, but they just couldn't get anything to go their way.
No, not at all. I'm shocked, but I thought Arizona would give them a little bit of a game, but it was over by halftime almost. You knew you weren't coming back.
23-7 and got up to 37-7.
So, this was over before halftime. It didn't even look like the Chiefs lost Tyreek Hill. In all honesty, they were all out there.
Fits in pretty well.
He fit in well. Obviously, Kelsey had a big game, as you'd expect. Edwards-Helaire, he struggled a little bit last year. He comes in as 2 different touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 passing. I think they were both receiving. So he had a big game there, and I didn't even know the leading rusher. I didn't recognize his name, but I think they brought him in. But again, I was shocked. I thought it'd take a little bit after Tyreek Hill left for them to figure things out, but they came out here and put up 23 points in the first half.
Yeah, it's weird. You would think this would be the biggest game. This was one of the most hyped up games. It's got the least to say about it. Chiefs rolled.
Same with the other game we'll go here and talk about in a little bit that I was expecting more from.
And then Raiders-Chargers, big one out here. The Chargers, hey, they finally had what usually happens to them happen against them for once. 3 turnovers by the Raiders. Just could not get anything going when they absolutely had to have something. Chargers getting a 24-19 win. Justin Herbert doing his thing. throwing for 279 and 3 TDs.
It was a good game, obviously, like I expected. The only thing I was surprised, I thought it was going to be more offensive. I thought there was going to be a lot more scoring in this game. I was kind of surprised there by the Chargers and Raiders. Like, both offenses kind of struggle a little bit. Obviously, they lose Keenan Allen. The Chargers do. I think almost midway through the game, Devontae Adams comes in late, gets that touchdown. Obviously, had a big game yardage-wise, but gets a late touchdown. So, Raiders are fine. I mean, it's going to be a fun division.
It absolutely is. I'm excited to see how the West turns out here in the AFC. I mean, it just feels like it's going to be a crazy year in that division. If every game's like this, I'll take it.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if every team's above 500 in this division.
And then we get the Buccaneers and the Cowboys, the first Sunday night game of the year, and oh boy, it did not deliver at all. I mean, the Buccaneers just kind of slowly, over the course of the game, beat the Cowboys up. Dak Prescott gets injured in the final 5 minutes. He's now out 6 to 8 weeks with a thumb injury. Ugh, that's all I could say for this game. Just, it was more background noise to me than it was anything else. I didn't think that would happen, being the only game on, but it was just like, man, Tom Brady, I mean, he's doing his thing. 18 for 27, 212, a TD, a pick. Just nothing going on really in this game, and now the Cowboys are pretty much out of it for a while.
Yeah, I sat here last week and said this might be the game of the week. It hurts me to say, but I thought these teams would come out and battle. Obviously, they battled, but no, Buccaneers. I mean, they just controlled the game, and it was like they never And what made you keep kind of watching is the Buccaneers never went for that final blow. Is they just kept dragging it out. Oh, we don't want to get in the end zone. We'll go field goal. We'll keep it close. Yeah. We'll go field goal. We'll keep it close. Yeah. And then finally they get the touchdown from Evans. What a catch that was. And then, like you said, Dak gets hurt. But here's the thing. And obviously it's going to affect them here in these next weeks. But in terms of this game, Dak didn't really do a whole lot. I mean, he played the whole game. I think he's like you said, the final 4 or 5 minutes of the game he gets hurt. So where was the offense before that? I don't think they realized how good Cooper was. And I know they couldn't figure out the money stuff, but I know they're missing Gallup in Washington, so they were kind of on thin ice there. But, I mean, Dak didn't have any help in this game. I mean, everyone just seemed lost.
Yeah, I mean, you got CeeDee Lamb and Noah Brown. Noah Brown ends up being the leading receiver with 5 catches, 68 yards. The Cowboys have no help. They have nothing on offense. They have Ezekiel Elliott, and they forget he exists every once in a while. He only had 10 carries. I mean, Leonard Fournette, keep in mind, had 21. This is the same thing that happened between Carolina and Cleveland we talked about earlier, Andrew, and it's not going to get better. You got Cooper Rush. It's Cooper Rush again. He's back in the saddle as the leader of the Cowboys. I just want to point this out for Dallas to show how not better this is going to be. You look at their schedule, you get Cincinnati next week, then you go to the Giants, you get the Commanders at home, then you go to the Rams, go to the Eagles, and then get Detroit at home. That's at least 6. If you go the full 8, that's Chicago and add Green Bay as well, potentially. I mean, you're talking about Dak makes his return at Lambeau Field.
Well, and here's the thing. Cincinnati, Joe Burrow or Cooper Rush?
Joe Burrow.
Daniel Jones or Cooper Rush?
I don't know. With the way Daniel Jones played, if we get him, it's at the Meadowlands. It's a Monday night game. Giants could pull it off.
That's my point. Wentz or Cooper Rush?
Wentz.
Stafford or Cooper Rush?
I'm taking every quarterback over Cooper Rush.
But my point is, especially now with that receiving core, I think Gallup's out a little while. Washington's obviously out for the season. Smith's out for the season. You're starting left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
This Cowboys team's in trouble.
Yes.
If you had Cooper Rush and you still had Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, you might be able to survive because you can throw a ball up every once in a while.
Yeah.
If Zeke was the Zeke we all expected when he first came out of college and he can continue to win games with the run game, but you can't rely on Zeke anymore. Mm-hmm. You definitely can't rely on Cooper Rush. Yeah. And now your best receiver, and I got nothing against CeeDee Lamb, but he almost seems like a guy that needs a true two with him or another.
He needs a guy to take the pressure off him.
Take the pressure off him, especially now without Dak to really extend plays and everything. This Cowboys team, honestly, I think they'll end up surviving Washington because it's at home. But, I mean, going into that bye week, I don't think it's out of the question if you're only seeing them with 2 or 3 wins. Mm-hmm. Which sounds crazy to say because I thought this was going to be from an NFL standpoint, stressful for me, obviously, but I thought it was going to be a fun battle between Philly and Dallas for the division. And you're sitting here, they might only have 2 or 3 wins at the bye.
Yeah, I was going to say, the way I see it, you look at the Giants, Commanders at home, Lions and Bears. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose 2 of those 4. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose 3 of those 4.
Well, I think they lose at the Giants. And maybe I'm overreacting after a week 1 win, but they went out and beat that Tennessee team in Tennessee. You held that good offense. I get they lost A.J. Brown, but they still have Derrick Henry. Mm-hmm. They still have, I think they added Robert Woods. He's a good receiver. I mean, they still have, who's the other receiver I'm forgetting that was with A.J. Brown? I'm blanking on who, but I mean, anyway, they still got a good duo, and obviously Ryan Tannehill is not a bad quarterback, and the defense is always good. And that Giants team went out and beat them, so they're capable to beat a Cooper Rush-led Dallas team at home? Yeah. Absolutely. Again, I think they'll end up surviving Washington because I'm not overall at Washington. Obviously, Wentz has struggled last year, and that team overall isn't amazing, and they barely survived Jacksonville at home. So I think they'll survive that game. Rams, I'm definitely not picking them to win in L.A. Philly, maybe if they were home, I'd lean that way, but they're not going to win in Philly with Cooper Rush. Detroit, I'll tell you what, that Detroit team, even though I said it was going to be close, their offense was a little impressive. I mean, like you talked about Swift and everything. I think they lose that Detroit game now, but I think they'll survive Chicago. So I'm going to say 2 wins.
Yeah, it is going to become a brutal time to be a Cowboys fan. As if it wasn't already since, the last time they won their Super Bowl in 1990-something.
It's a wonderful time to be a Cowboys hater.
When is it not a wonderful time to be a Cowboys hater? But we have a few more NFL games to quickly get through some of the more, I guess, not as impressive games. The only one I really missed out that I thought was fun to talk about would be San Francisco-Chicago, just because of the whole mess they had at Soldier Field. Players getting to slip and slide and do, and Bears get a 19-10 win. Trey Lance did not look that impressive in his debut.
Hey, I don't want to say it, but what did I say?
What did you say?
I said would not be shocked if the Bears won this game without George Kittle.
And sure enough,
they won without George Kittle. And sure
enough, the next day, George Kittle was rolled out, and I was like, dang it.
So no perfect season for 49ers. Yeah. I know we're joking around about that 17-0 last week.
Yeah, he already came and told me 16-1.
I got a lot of work on him. They want to be 16-1.
Hey, listen, they're going to win every game 3-0. They're going to find a way. But look at some of these other here. Miami takes care of business against New England 20-7. Baltimore beats New York in the Flacco Bowl 24-9. Washington survives the Jags 28-22. And let's see, I believe that is every game. And then, of course, the Monday night game, Denver-Seattle tonight. Russell Wilson's return to the place he technically hasn't left yet because he hasn't started a game for the Broncos. But it should be a fun Monday night game.
Even when he does start, he's not leaving that place. Yep. He'll be playing in Seattle. So. He's with Seattle for 1 more week.
Yep.
So are you going Denver, I assume?
Yes, okay. I'm going. I think we're both going Denver in that one. I am not bold enough to say Seattle's going to win out of nowhere and Drew Lock and Geno Smith are going to team up and combine into one semi-competent quarterback. But we do have some college football to talk about as well. And what a week it was for college football. Obviously, we did not get to see every game, having Northwestern being home Saturday night. But we have to get started. I'm going to start pulling some games up here to talk about. But we have to get started with, honestly, the game no one thought would be as good as it was. Of course, I am talking about the one, the only, the big noon, the college game day, the whatever you want to call it. Texas survives and beats Alabama 19-20. This is a win for Texas. This is the most moral win of moral victories you could ever get as a program.
Well, they ranked them. They ranked them after a loss. They put them up to what, 21 was it?
Yeah. The most quality loss.
You were on my side, weren't you? Didn't you pick Texas against the spread? Or was that just me? I thought
Bama would do the backdoor cover thing where they'd score on a pick six with a minute left.
I thought you were on my side.
But I told you in agreement this would be a one possession game at halftime at the minimum. And it was tied.
I know you don't like Texas.
I do not.
I gotta ask: were you pulling for Texas in the end there?
Here's my entire.
Because I know a couple people were that.
Here's my entire momentum chart, and I am not afraid. Even though I'm an OU fan, I almost Texas does this weird thing where every once in a while, under a blue moon, when the Knights are at all the fun, whatever you want to say, they become the hero of college football, and I don't know how they do it. They did this in 2005 when they played USC for the national title with Vince Young. They became the hero. seeing Quinn Ewers get knocked out, seeing Hudson Card down there fighting around on one leg, unless you were an Alabama fan, I cannot see how you weren't rooting for Texas to win that game and beat the number one team in the country. With Bijan apparently hurt as well, Hudson Card, like I said, he's not even going to play this week. Texas is going to be down to their third or fourth string quarterback this week against UTSA. Everything they put, the blood, sweat, and tears into this game, and they still got beat, man. It took everything to go their way, and they still lost.
Oh, yeah, man.
Absolutely
that
brutal.
rough in the passer in the end.
Yeah.
Come on now. Like, how do you make that call?
And see, the funny thing is that this was a Big 12 officiated game, and there's a reason why this is important. Usually it's the other way around. SEC refs will do the road game for the SEC team. Big 12 refs will do the road game for the Big 12 team when it comes to these. This is the first time in a decade they switched it to where the Big 12 refs were at home and the SEC refs will be at home. That's weird. There's some squirrely. And
so what you're saying is that was the Big 12's punishment for Texas for leaving the Big 12. Is what you're getting.
All I'm going to say.
Is that the conspiracy?
All I'm going to say is every time Scott Campbell has refereed a Texas game, this goes all the way back to this was the guy at the 2016 Kansas game that they lost. Every time I've seen Scott Campbell at a Texas game, they have lost. Do with that information whatever you will, Texas fans. I'm not saying there's a conspiracy theory there. I'm just saying it's kind of eerie, I guess I would say. Not trying to provide them with theories for why they lost other than, their entire team was injured. But, man, this was such a fun game to watch. This, I know everyone was kind of joking, Alabama's going to win by 45. That was the fun meme heading into this. Oh, this game doesn't deserve to be 11 a.m. Big Noon. But, man, this was such a fun game. I had a lot of fun watching this. This was a nightmare game for everybody involved for 3 quarters, and then Bryce Young had a Heisman moment or two spliced in there as well.
Yeah, credit how that Texas defense. I mean, that's what my takeaway from this was. Obviously, yeah, it's impressive they survived all the injuries and still kept it this close. But that defense, I mean, holding Alabama to at the end it's 20, but basically, into the teens for most of that game was just incredible. I mean, you hold them scoreless in second and third quarter. You made it a game, and I think that's my big takeaway is that Texas defense, especially in the Big 12, is going to keep them in a lot of games. Obviously, we'll see now with the injuries what they're able to do to start off Big 12 play and everything. I think they'll be fine against UTSA. I mean, I think it'll be obviously a little closer now, but we'll see what happens. But this was a statement game. Like you said, I mean, you don't want to say moral victory because, they lost the game. But, I mean, in the end, it was still a statement by Texas is we can play with the best of them all. I mean, they lost. I mean, he went down early, their late first quarter.
Yeah,
right?
Quinn Ewers goes down at the end of the first quarter.
You basically play 3 full quarters without your starting quarterback, and you still kept it this close.
And the other thing that I want to mention here is that you mentioned it with how good is Texas defense. I want to know how good is Alabama's offense, actually, because you looked at this, you look at who their best players were in this game. One of their best players, is Gibbs, good old Jahmyr Gibbs, who was a Georgia Tech transfer. Without Bryce Young there having to scramble and run for his life, Alabama's own homegrown talent outside of an 80-yard run by Jace McClellan did nothing. Their offensive line looked bad. Texas was able to run circles around them with their pass rush. Alabama's in trouble, I think, even more than last year, and I don't know how that's possible. To me, this year at Arkansas, at Tennessee, at LSU, all these big road games, someone's going to slip up on them, I think.
Yeah, but I'm not ready to say they're in trouble.
I'm ready to say...
So if you're an Alabama fan, you're panicking? I don't think you're there yet.
I think the gears start turning if you really get in trouble against Arkansas and you start panicking.
Yeah, I mean, Arkansas can go out and beat them, maybe, but I don't know. I'm not ready to hit the trouble button just yet. You survived a road game, tough atmosphere. It's not like it was a lower tier team. I mean, Texas is still up there, and we'll see where they go. I think they go back for another easy win next week.
Yeah,
I assume
Alabama
before
gets
conference.
Louisiana Monroe this week.
Yeah, we can't judge them next week, but we'll see what happens in the conference.
Unless they lose to Louisiana Monroe. Then they're actually.
Then you can hit the trouble button.
Yeah. We'll talk about the trouble button in this next game here to talk about because App State did it again, folks. They did it again. The other big game in the state of Texas. App State upsets Texas A&M 17-14. I know we talked about this on the show. We thought, hey, maybe App State can make this a game. A&M was an 18-point favorite. App State just with the perfect game plan, hold on to the ball for 41 and a half minutes, completely dismantle A&M, and that's how you win. You make A&M have to beat you by actually playing offense, and that's something that they've struggled with the past few years.
Yeah, not only that, honestly, I wonder how much can you really take away from A&M's offense in this game, though? Like you said, they only had the ball for 19 minutes. Like, you're not going to score in every possession. I mean, they're better than what we think. I mean, yeah, I know they're not an SEC team and a top tier team. It should have A&M won this game by double digits, absolutely. But in the end, I'm sitting here. The offense is whatever. I'm sitting here more defense. How are you not getting us off the field?
Yeah,
Like, you don't have to create turnovers, but you can't let Appalachian State come into our house and hold the ball for 41 minutes. So, if anything, and I get it, 17 points isn't a lot of points. It's not like you went out and played horrible defense, but it's more you gotta get us all. You gotta get us the ball back. You gotta get off the field. I mean, you figure your average possession. Actually, it tells you here. So the one touchdown was 3 minutes and 18, and the other touchdown was 14 seconds.
14 seconds on a kickoff return.
Oh yeah. So I mean, really. So, like, how much offense is really going on there is my point. You lose an offensive possession on the kickoff return there. You have one go 3 minutes. I mean, that's not bad. But so my point here is to really, I don't know. I have trouble sitting here judging the A&M offense. I'm more worried about my defense here coming out of this game. Again, I know 17 points isn't a lot, but it's you couldn't get off the field against Appalachian State. Yeah. So now let's go against an SEC team. I mean, let's just throw out Alabama. But they're not going to hold the ball for that long. They're going to go out and just score. I mean, they'll take advantage of that. The Appalachian State wanted to hold on to the ball, or Alabama's going to want to score. So, I mean, that's where my concern is. If you can't get off the field there, are these going to be big touchdown plays for an SEC team?
I don't know. It's going to be trouble. That's my personal opinion. A&M, we're going to find out a lot more about them. They get Miami this week. They're going to see a more up-tempo offense. They're going to see a good quarterback in Tyler Van Dyke. It's going to be a battle, man.
Where's that game?
This is in College Station. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff. Going to be the big-time night game on ESPN. But, man, I mean, you look at it, App State, they provided the blueprint. If you can just hold on to the ball, you can just pound away at this defense, A&M can't respond. They cannot get off the field fast enough. And, I mean, it causes you to panic. It really does. We've seen teams do this before, and it absolutely can strike fear.
Yeah, without question.
And the next game to talk about, kind of the same thing. Kent State and Oklahoma. 33-3, Oklahoma wins. But you look at that first half, I'll tell you the story that I had. I'm sitting here doing sideline reporting for the Northwestern game. I check my phone every few commercial breaks or something like that. And I go, we haven't had a scoring update. Maybe we're in a rain delay or something. And I finally get a scoring update. It's 3-0 Kent State midway through the second quarter. And I go, okay. What is going on? Did, everyone get injured the first drive of the game? Then finally, Oklahoma scores, and you look at it, Oklahoma gets destroyed in time of possession. 36 minutes for Kent State, 23 for OU. This is the same thing UTEP did. That is going to be the game plan to beat Oklahoma. Hold on to the ball. And Oklahoma moves fast enough on offense, you're going to be able to do it. OU's whole plan is to get off the field in 2 minutes or less. That's what Jeff Lebby's system is built to do. And my goodness, when you have 7 rushing yards in the first half, no one can run the ball. The offensive line can't block. Dylan Gabriel can't run away fast enough because the offensive line can't block. There are problems. I mean, you have to get this stuff fixed because, yes, you have Nebraska. Yes, they just lost Scott Frost. We'll talk about that later on. You got K-State in 2 weeks, and their defensive line will eat you alive if you try to do that stuff. But the defense stepped up. Credit to them. You held Kent State to 3 points. We were wondering how good of a team they were. You absolutely shut them down. And you win by 30. Made it look not that bad.
Yeah, I don't think Oklahoma has anything to worry about. I get it for close first half, but we see this all the time from certain teams and everything. And we saw it a little bit in the past from Oklahoma. So I think they're fine. They figured if it would have stayed close and you only win this game 13-3, some 16, like whatever.
Yeah.
Then okay, it's a little choke. But they went out, took care of business. They put up 24 in the third quarter. I don't think OU has anything to worry about. I think now you go on and struggle a little bit to Nebraska. I think that then maybe you start to worry a little bit. But again, I have trouble even in blowouts and stuff taking away anything from these type of games.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried for OU.
Yeah, and see, I'm not completely worried yet, but it's just that little 1%. Like, hey, that was a weird first half. Can we? I mean, we took it away. We did the third quarter exactly like you were supposed to. But hey, can we not do that again? I like having comfortable leads, and I think this is one that if the halves were switched, if OU's up 26-0 at halftime, no one's talking. No one cares. It's just kind of an interesting storyline, I guess.
Yeah.
Having to deal with people saying like, "Oh, hey, it's 7-3. What are you guys doing?" It was just like, okay, people. But if there's a team that does need to worry, it's Notre Dame. Notre Dame is now 0-2. They lose to Marshall 26-21, and to make it worse, Tyler Buckner is now out for the season. Officially, with his injury, Drew Pine will take over as quarterback for the rest of the year. And former Texas Tech quarterback Henry Colombi leading the Thundering Herd, 16 for 21, 145 and a TD. This was all Marshall, and the main reason is here. 3 Notre Dame turnovers. You add an injured quarterback to that list. Marshall, really, this game was theirs to lose from the get-go. They come out, they scored the opening drive. They're up 6-0. They missed the PAT. Notre Dame responds later on. But Marshall just kept pounding and pounding away. They had a 12-7 lead at the end of the third.
That's what happens when you let a team stick around like that. You see it a lot in college basketball, some of those upsets, and that's what Notre Dame let them do. They just let them hang around. They went out, got that 19-15 lead there late in the fourth quarter, and were able to survive this game. I mean, obviously the big one was the interception for a touchdown late, to go up by 2 possessions. But now, and we hear this all the time too, and I know it sounds like an excuse, and it kind of is, but I'm not a Notre Dame fan or anything, but a lot of times you almost see some of this after going all out, playing a tough team like Ohio State the week before, and then you kind of get this wake-up call, and you kind of see whether you win or lose, just a little bit of a hangover from that game. And you saw it here from Notre Dame. I think that's what it comes down to. Is you went out, went all out, obviously had a really good first half in the Ohio State game, kind of saw it slowly die in that game, and you kind of just came out flat in this game, and it obviously came back to bite you. But, obviously losing your quarterback doesn't help, but it's definitely panic time here for Notre Dame too because, listen, at least, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, whatever, Big 12, whatever team you want to throw out there. You lose a game like this, is your college playoff hopes most likely gone? Absolutely. But at least you have something to play for. Oh, let's go out and still win the Big 12. It hasn't started yet.
You still have a conference.
But Notre Dame, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just saying, you don't have a conference to go win. And that's what is going to be interesting how Notre Dame's response is because, again, it's not like, okay, let's go out and win our conference. It's, your season, is kind of over. And I'm not trying to be funny or anything, but, you're not going to make the college playoffs with 2 losses already, especially when one's Marshall.
Yeah.
You got to lose to Ohio State week 1 and maybe Alabama week 2. Yeah, you might be able to sneak in if you're on the table there, but you're not going to get
Yeah, you lost to Marshall.
What's Notre obviously you can maybe survive a New Year's Six bowl. Even that might be a little bit of a stretch because you got no wiggle room now. And
they
only
have
week 2 into the year. What's Notre Dame playing for?
They have the schedule to do it. They still have BYU. They still have Clemson. They still have USC. They have the big wins to maybe sneak into a New Year's Six, but your playoff shot's over. And Marcus Freeman still has yet to win a game as the head coach of the Fighting Irish. He's 0-3. First time that has ever happened that a head coach at Notre Dame has started 0-3.
And not only that, we just said, though, and you lost your starting quarterback.
Yeah.
So are they going to beat BYU? I can't pick them to beat BYU. Are they going to beat USC? I can't pick them to beat USC.
No.
And I don't care where those games are at. It's just without your starting quarterback. And here's the thing. A lot of people like the Marcus Freeman hire, so maybe he's just off to a slow start, and we'll see kind of a turnaround here.
Maybe, but, I can't see Notre Dame going better than 7 wins this year at this point.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And then, we got to talk about they get Cal this week. Cal is not a good Pac-12 team, but they're 2-0. They found ways to win. If Cal makes them struggle,
I think they'll struggle.
And with Drew Pine in there at quarterback, from what we saw, he did not look good against Marshall. They might lose to Cal. Yeah. They get North Carolina too. This is going to turn into a rough season for Notre Dame.
Tough adversity for Freeman here.
Yes. It's a good learning year, but at the same time, yikes.
Yeah. No.
And then Baylor, BYU, the double overtime classic. This game had everything, and I mean literally everything. We had Mark Jones and RG3 on commentary talking about the moon, reading poems that sound like something you would find on your cousin's Instagram page or Facebook page. They talked about cougar tails, which are these giant maple long john looking things. They talked about everything but the game and then actually the game. It was some weird commentary, but what else would you expect for a game that goes to double OT and ended about 1 a.m. Baylor's time?
Yeah. Well, that's our time, too.
Yeah. Baylor time, our time, Central time. Crazy time in Provo, though, because, man, Jaron Hall, he is becoming that guy. 23 for 39, 261 at TD. The thing that stood out the most to me, I think, looking from Baylor's perspective, is they can stop the run still, to the surprise of no one. They still have a good defensive line. But their secondary got exposed. Even without BYU having their two best receivers, BYU was still able to do whatever they wanted to him in the passing game.
No, absolutely. BYU, a lot of credit here. I mean, here's the thing. Both teams could have won before overtime. But, I mean, I think this is what we expected. A nice close game, hard-fought game, mainly defensive throughout the game. A couple things could have went either way, but in the end, BYU did what they had to do to get this win. I missed. I mean, you were at Northwestern too, so we kind of missed the start of this one. But by the time I got home, but no, the second half was fun to watch. Yeah, RG3 is tough to listen to for an entire game. I'm not trying to be mean, but like to your credit, like they talk about everything in which way.
They talked about literally, I think, almost it. The only way it could have got weirder is if Bill Walton would have showed up and just started talking about whatever. But
can we just put Bill Walton on a football game?
I would
just
love
one.
That.
It doesn't have to be the game of the
we
week,
should
right?
let him have like a UCLA Washington State gamer. So just let him go crazy for a day. Let him talk about how great the Conference of Champions is. But some of the other things I want to touch on in this one is Blake Shapen late in the game. I did not understand Baylor's strategy. I mean, Shapen's 18 for 28, 137. But the way they were scheming late in the game, they want to just keep running. And, I mean, it wasn't really working that well. Why are you scared of throwing a pass more than 4 yards? What is that entire scheme there? You had several chances to win. I mean, Old Roy misses a field goal to win it in regulation. He misses the field goal to win it in overtime. So does Baylor. What are you guys doing? You had 2 kill shot opportunities, and you missed both times because you got way too conservative.
No, absolutely. And I think that's just the way he coaches. I think it's concerning there for BYU, but you have to find a way to go about it. And, I mean, I think he just showed a lot of trust in his special teams. Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely crazy to me to see just everything that went on in the final 5 minutes into the double OT. But I don't know what else to say about that. That's just how that one went. No, it did. And it could have went a couple different ways there at the end. And, well, too, I mean, you had Baylor let the guy go deep and even give them that field position. So, like, to your point, you've already tried it once and it worked. It got you in that position to try to get a field goal at the end of the game. Mm-hmm. And you didn't do it a lot. Yeah, I don't understand it. But you move on to USC and Stanford. And this was a I don't want to say this was a typical Lincoln Riley game, but it kind of was. USC comes out, and they're just absolutely wailing. Caleb Williams looks great. I mean, he goes 20 for 27, 341, 4 TDs. Travis Dye has a big game, 14 carries, 105, a touchdown. Jordan Addison, 7 receptions, 172. The offense looked fantastic. Nothing bad to say about it. It's what you'd expect from the Trojans this year. That's 41-14 at the end of the third. Stanford starts putting a few drives together to make this one look closer than it actually was. Despite the 4 Cardinal turnovers, it's still only a 13-point game. It's not a huge cause for concern, but as an OU fan, seeing that happen is just kind of like, well, can't say I'm not surprised. But, I mean, USC's in control the entire game. You give up 2 garbage time scores, not the biggest concern. That's what I was saying. It's garbage time. I think this is what we expected. We talked about USC, I think, pulling away last week, and listen, it's a fake 13-point game. Like, it looks good on paper, but, I mean, you watched the game, you followed the game. Yeah. You knew it was a lot more than 13 points. throughout this game. I mean, you go into the fourth quarter up 41-14. So, I don't know. I think USC looked very good. That was my takeaway from this game. I guess Stanford's not great, but no, USC looked very impressive.
They did. They did what you're supposed to do in these types of games. They dominated. And then Oklahoma State taking on Arizona State. And the Cowboys, I mean, they got into a bit of a struggle for a little bit through three quarters. It's 20-17 way early in the fourth. But then Spencer Sanders able to make a big pass to Bryson Green. And then a few plays later, and by a few, I mean 5 minutes later, of course, because that's how long that drive was, 13 plays. Spencer Sanders finds Ollie Gordon, and the Cowboys put this one away 34-17. Each team turned it over once. Time of possession, almost exactly even yards, about a 100-yard difference. But you look at that first downs, Oklahoma State able to move the ball a lot better than Arizona State was.
Yeah, I mean, this game was – I mean, I said it last week, is I didn't think OSU would cover. Obviously, they cover with a late touchdown there. But essentially, I mean, Arizona State played with them. And OSU took advantage of a dominant second quarter, which really helped them go a long way. But overall, this game was pretty neck and neck like I expected. I think a lot of people, I said last week, I think a lot of people were expecting OSU to kind of pull away in this game, and I just didn't see that happening. And obviously, again, late touchdown makes it look like it, but kind of the opposite of what I just said with USC Stanford. This game was one of those, it was closer than 17 points.
Yeah, it was not a 17-point game. It was more like a 10.
And I don't know. I'm curious. Obviously, OSU struggled against Central Michigan. You only win by 10. They struggled here a little bit here and there. You survive and win by 17. I'm curious. Next week, you should blow out Pine Bluff. I mean, I'm curious what OSU looks like next week. But they got some things to figure out before conference play. I really believe that. I know it's only one, but Sanders, his interception was bad again. I mean, he just has that problem, and it's kind of you just gotta expect like 1 or 2 a game, and you gotta get past it.
I mean, it's something that I always find funny. You know how this is built. He's gonna go off on Pine Bluff because he had a bad game against Arizona State, with the interception and everything. You look at the card here, I guess I should say. You look at the schedule. You're winding up, good game, bad game, good game. Baylor's the bad game. Whoopsies there in Waco. You kind of keep going. And it's almost like flipping a coin, basically. Every other game is going to be good or bad. It's still that consistency to Oklahoma State. And the other thing I want to talk about, you mentioned it when we were predicting, is the rushing a game. How well would Arizona State be able to run the ball? 131 yards on 37 carries, 3.5 yards a carry. Not a horrible day for Arizona State. They were able to get something going.
Look, I would honestly almost say maybe not great, but it was a good day.
It was.
Because here's the thing. Quarterbacks always skew the running stats a little bit because of the look at that. Their quarterback had negative 17 rushing yards.
Yeah.
But, again, that's kind of – to me, you really look at it. You add that 17 back, you're at 148. So you had 148 from your running backs on 28 carries. So that's a pretty good day there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you look at their backs, 5.6 average, 4.4 average.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was my phone for a second.
Sometimes that happens.
No, so, I mean, again, OSU's rushing defense kind of struggled again, and that's something you got to figure out, especially once you get to conference play.
Yeah, and moving on to the next game here, as ESPN wanted to make noise, so I guess we're moving on to the next game here to look at. Kentucky comes in and beats Florida 26-16. It all changes in a pick six to make it 23-16 Kentucky with 3:25 to go in the third quarter. Keidron Smith changing the game, and Kentucky takes it over from there. And the Anthony Richardson wild ride continues. He had the giant game against Utah. Backs it up with 14 for 35, 143, and 2 picks. So, whoopsies there.
Yeah, I love this win for Kentucky, especially after, obviously, the whole debacle between coaches at the Kentucky program.
Yes.
With the whole football, basketball school thing. So, it's cool to see Kentucky come out. They get the big win here this week. They had that. They survived the week one right, against a decent opponent.
Yeah, they beat Miami, Ohio by 24.
So, to me, this is cool to see from Kentucky here, especially the defense. I mean, I think we all expect them to control a lot through their defensive position here. And you get that 16-16 game, pick 6 saves. And sports are built off momentum. They got a lot of momentum, big momentum plays here in this game. And that's what happened.
And keep in mind, Kentucky's doing all this without their starting running back, too. They don't have Chris Rodriguez until October. And Kentucky has worked their way to a top 10 team. Crazy things are happening in college football again, folks. You love to see it. Kentucky played well. And with this win, Mark Stoops officially passes Bear Bryant for the most wins ever as a head coach of Kentucky football. So, yeah, I think he's deserved his right to talk.
Absolutely.
But looking at some of these other games, I mean, not a whole lot of other big ones to talk about besides some of these few I'm going to pull up here. Looking at it, I mean, you look at Tennessee Pitt. This was another crazy one. This is one I expect to be a bit more higher scoring. Keaton Slovis getting injured, I believe, at some point in this game. Tennessee getting a 34-27 win in overtime over Pittsburgh. And the Vols offense, it showed up. It did what it was supposed to do. Took a while, though.
Well, to your point, you expect more offense, especially in an overtime game. But credit to Pitt. A lot of people thought Pitt would get rolled over a little bit in this game, even at home, because of who they lost. And they've come out and played well against West Virginia. I mean, you lose the game, but you still played well against Tennessee. You were in the game, obviously, overtime. I think this Pitt team is better than people expect them to be. But no, credit to Tennessee going on the road, winning in that good atmosphere out in Pittsburgh, and find a way to win. But I'll tell you what, no, their offense looks pretty good. And, I mean, I know it's tough to say here early on, but, I mean, their offense might be able to go toe-to-toe with a lot of those SEC teams. It's more about what's their defense going to be able to do, because 27 is a lot against a Pittsburgh team. In 4 quarters in terms of what some of those offenses you're going to have to face in the SEC.
Yeah. It's going to be a completely different animal, I guess I should say. But also, stat-wise, it's funny to look at.
Yeah, let's say that too.
1 yard difference, 1 first down difference, same amount of turnovers. Essentially the same team, it felt like. Difference being Hendon Hooker staying healthy. And the Tennessee defense, despite everything that happened, they're able to win the day. Which is not a sentence I think anyone expected to say from this game, that the defense would be the one saving the day.
Hey, sometimes surprises happen.
Yeah, sometimes that happens, though. Moving on to the next big one to talk about, Washington State goes into Camp Randall and upsets Wisconsin. I don't think anyone had this one.
No,
I don't even think we talked about this game a whole lot. I think we figured it was going to be a blowout. Wisconsin was a 17-point favorite. We all thought, okay, Washington State, they're not there yet. They proved us wrong. They proved everybody wrong.
absolutely. I mean, credit to Washington State. I mean, especially that defense, holding Wisconsin to 14 points, all the points coming in 1 quarter. So you shut them out in 3 quarters. And, I mean, listen, Wisconsin always seems like they have this kind of game early on, and then they'll start winning a little bit, and then we're like, okay, this team back. This is the team we thought. But, no, Wisconsin's got to be better than that. I mean, it seems like every year they get ranked, they're in a position to maybe make a Big Ten run, and they struggle and get a loss like this. So, I mean, unfortunately, it just seems like it's the way it always goes. And we talked about the jokes about the NFL stats. I mean, Wisconsin 401 to 253 in yards, and they still lose this game. 22-10 in first downs, and you still lose this game.
Yeah, they also had time of possession 38 minutes to 22, and each team having 3 turnovers. I know we had the fun play where Wisconsin guy intercepts the ball, he gets hit, immediately fumbles it, Washington State picks it back up, and that's how you get a 10-yard gain, by doing absolutely nothing. But, yeah, huge win for Washington State. Talking about them, they might be a better team than we all thought they were. I want to bring up their schedule for 1 point here. You look at it, you get Colorado State, obviously, this week. If everything goes their way, that becomes a giant game against Oregon in a few weeks. Oregon coming to town. Bo Nix is their quarterback. We saw him get manhandled by Georgia. But Oregon's coming off the BYU game. That could be interesting in Pullman.
They could win that. And think about it. You survive that Oregon game, you're looking at undefeated into that USC. And I don't think they're going USC and beat them, but that might become a fun game.
Yeah, that might become a game day type game to worry about. Can Washington State pull something off? But looking at our next game to talk about, Texas Tech upsets Houston in double overtime. I guess Houston's just going to play every game in overtime this year. They're 2 for 2 so far. And Donovan Smith had himself a day, 36 for 58, 351, 2 DDs, but 3 picks. He had the ultimate Texas Tech quarterback experience, I guess is the best way to put it. This game went back and forth. Texas Tech has the commanding lead at the half, 17-3. Everyone's thinking, okay, this is who Texas Tech is. They're going to win this game. They're going to grind it out. Houston comes all the way back, takes the lead with 37 seconds left. But Texas Tech doesn't quit. They come back, tie the game. We go to overtime. We go to double overtime. And Texas Tech gets the win on a 9-yard touchdown run.
Yeah, great game there from both teams. I mean, thought you couldn't really have asked for a better game. I mean, it just went back and forth. Obviously, Texas Tech got a little bit of separation, 17-3, but Houston comes right back, gets it, sends it to overtime, and I mean, I think it's everything we thought is they were going to battle, and it was going to be a good game. I think the spread was 3. Obviously, you get 3. I think it was Houston by 3, but still, right there around 3, you cover it, and I mean, I think I picked Houston in this game, but overall, I mean, it was basically a pick 'em, and the game really showed out that way.
It absolutely did, but I mean, this is a huge win for Texas Tech. You got a chance to get another big ranked win. You go to NC State this week. So
Yeah,
that's
that'll
going to be
a fun
fun.
game. Yeah.
That'll be fun. There's one more that we have to talk about because of the well, 2 more now that I look at it, that we have to talk about because of the implications it has in college football. We had something that hasn't happened in 11 years. Kansas is 2-0. Kansas beats West Virginia 55-42 in overtime. This is only the 3rd time since overtime became a permanent thing in college football that we've had the rare 13-0 overtime. Kansas getting a pick 6 after already scoring. But Jayhawks are averaging 55 points a game. Be very afraid.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas is going to win the Big 12 here, and
Hey, they're 1-0,
but
no one else is 1-0.
yeah, we all need a picture of that just so we remember Kansas was in
Just
first
to remember.
at one point. Yeah,
Never forget, Kansas winning the Big 12.
now I'll tell you what though. I talk about before I get into Kansas. Talk about a tough way to start your season. You're playing toe to toe with Pittsburgh, ranked Pittsburgh, and you lose off a pick 6 that was in your receiver's hands.
Yeah.
Then you go, get a home game against Kansas. Okay, let's regroup. Let's find a way to win that game. Then you lose in overtime. And it's like, okay, wow, Kansas might do this. And then you lose by 13. And you lose. I know you didn't technically lose on the pick 6, but the pick 6 clinched it. So you basically lost back-to-back weeks on a late pick 6 happening.
And not to mention, West Virginia blew another blew a double-digit lead. They're up 28-14 in the second quarter, and they let Kansas come back and start commanding the game. Kansas gets up by double digits in the fourth quarter at one point. It took everything going the Mountaineers' way to even tie this game and go to overtime.
Yeah, very bad third quarter for the Mountaineers, and obviously they were able to make up for it in the fourth a little bit. But no, this is not a loss you want, obviously, for West Virginia. Like, where do we go from here? I mean, obviously, it's going to be tough to rebound off this, especially when you pretty much won almost every stat category outside turnovers, and you still lost by double digits.
Yeah, it is going to be an absolutely brutal season for West Virginia if this keeps up. You got Virginia Tech on a Thursday night in a few weeks. Then you got more conference games, and oh boy, this is looking like we might see the end of the Neil Brown era at West Virginia.
We were talking about Notre Dame kind of going like, okay, yeah, our season's in trouble. I mean, West Virginia's in the same boat in week 2 here. It was like, okay, you thought you'd at least maybe lose the Pitt. But, again, it's just the way you lost. Like 2 heartbreaking losses.
Yeah. Just absolutely brutal for them, but also brutal for Nebraska. Nebraska losing to Georgia Southern 45-42. The student section chanting "Fire Frost" after the game, and they got their wish. Scott Frost officially fired yesterday as the no longer head coach of Nebraska. A 16-31 record in his time there, and most importantly, 5-22 in one-possession games. You play it tight, but can never get the big win. Kyle Van Treese is the name you needed to know from this one. 37 for 56, 409 yards and a touchdown, getting the Eagles the win. And, I mean, how fitting is it? Clay Helton, who was fired in week 2 last year at USC for losing to Stanford, comes in and beats Nebraska with his new team and gets Scott Frost fired. So another blue blood firing their coach in week 2 of the season. It's a cycle.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, it's crazy, too, because everyone was excited for that hire. And the Frost hire, thinking he'd get the program back to where they want to be. And it just hasn't worked out. Am I surprised it happened mid-season? Yeah, I'm a little surprised. But, I mean, this is kind of one of those losses where, it's obviously a bad loss. And it's kind of the icing on the cake in that point. But it's also a very odd time with what you got ahead of, and you're going to play a top 10 team in college football next week. So it's almost like maybe he survives one more game just so he can help get him ready for that game after playing them close last year. But obviously they went with it, and we'll see how Nebraska rebounds next week.
Yeah, we'll have to see what Nebraska does. But, man, you give up 642 yards of offense despite the 2 turnovers. It came down to the end as it always seems to. But, I mean, Georgia Southern had so many times they just walked down the field. I mean, you're looking at every drive. Nothing easy here. 75, 80, 75, 77, 75. There were no real, short drives here. These were all full, complete, just marching. Whether it be passing, whether it be rushing, Georgia Southern did whatever they wanted to.
Yeah, talk about Texas A&M, blank there. Couldn't get their defense off the field. Appalachian State controlled the game. That's what Georgia Southern did as well. I mean, you mentioned all these long drives, long plays, or long drives, extending the plays and everything, and that's what you got. And unfortunately, here's the thing. If they survive and win 42-38, you think it's any different? Because for how close that game was, I kind of have a feeling he was kind of gone after a close game, even if you survive.
I feel like if he would have won, they would have let him. I personally think they would have let him get blown out by Oklahoma and then fired him. But if they would have kept it close against Oklahoma, I think you would have had the justification of, okay, we'll wait till October 2nd when the buyout gets sliced. But from what I've heard, it sounds like there were enough boosters that said, you know what, we'll pay the extra $7.5 million. Get him out of here. Yeah. This is ridiculous. And the main name that's coming up is Iowa State's Matt Campbell. That is the big name it sounds like Nebraska is trying to get. Either him or Mark Stoops are the two big names I've heard. I don't think Mark Stoops would leave. Matt Campbell, I feel like if you'd have to have a lot of money.
Especially with that big deal he got.
Yeah. But it is going to be a wild time next week now with Mick Joseph taking over. And I mean, I remember we all talked about this. Nebraska was a 23-point favorite. Do not bet on Nebraska.
No.
Do not bet on them to win by more than 7 if they were to win. Every game's a one-possession game with them, except North Dakota. But that's an FCS team, so it kind of doesn't count. But even then, that game was close. So I really don't know why they even kept Scott Frost, to be honest. I think most people felt he should have been fired last year. If you were going to do this, why didn't you do it last season?
I think it was because of all the close games. I mean, they were in a lot of games last year. It's like, okay, they'll have a year under the belt after a young team, and maybe kind of you get off to a good start here. And let's be real, this is a game you should have won. You probably should be 3-0. And instead, you're 1-2 and in danger of going 1-3, obviously, against one of the best teams in the league next year. Next week.
Next year. It's confirmed. But it'll be a fun week when we get to it. Before we get out of here, I do want to get your reaction to the AP poll. We had it, of course, come out yesterday. First time it has come out on a Sunday for the regular season. The big deal, of course, being Georgia has moved up to number 1, taking that spot from Alabama. Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson stay the same. And then the moving on up for everybody, OU to 6, USC to 7, OSU to 8, Kentucky, the big jump up to 9, Arkansas to 10, Michigan State 11, BYU a big jump up to 12, 13 Miami, 14 Utah, Tennessee big jump to 15, NC State 16, Baylor falls to 17, Florida falls to 18, Wake up to 19, Ole Miss 20, Texas and Penn State both jump in at 21 and 22, Pitt falls to 23, A&M falls all the way to 24, and Oregon sneaks back in at 25. No Wisconsin or Notre Dame to be found. But the first team out, it's Marshall.
Yeah. No, I think a couple surprises here. One, I'm happy they did the Georgia thing, and we talked about last week. I said I thought Georgia should have been number 1 after last week because all they did was back up what they did winning a championship. So I'm happy to see that change, especially after a close Alabama game. My biggest surprise is how much Baylor dropped. You lost to a solid BYU team on the road. It wasn't like you got blown out. You lost in overtime. So I think 8's a little bit harsh there, especially, I mean, Utah's 1-1, so I don't really get that kind of 14-17 there. Florida, again, another, I mean, we all talked about how they got lucky for the big jump there, but
yeah.
Did they really look that bad against Kentucky where you drop them 6 spots after throwing them from non-ranked to 12? So that kind of surprised me a little bit in that sense. But overall, I think they did pretty well this week. And then again, Texas is a little, I don't know. I get they play the number 1 team close, but in the end, you still lost. Like, especially the way you reward some other teams. Like, go out and reward Marshall for being a Notre Dame team.
Yeah.
Go throw them at 25. Keep Texas in the receiving votes. I mean, I don't know. That would be only a couple different shakeups. Overall, I think they did well with it this week.
Yeah, the only thing is, though, if Texas would have won, I really think they would have done what they did in 2016. They would have knocked them up to 10 or something like that, and they would have been crazy off the rails. But I don't know. I don't mind Texas being ranked. 21's a little high. Like, if you wanted to put them in as that 25th team, or maybe wait and see if they could beat UTSA with a third-string quarterback potentially. Maybe wait a week. But overall, I really don't have a whole lot of problems besides the one you mentioned, Baylor. Why did they fall 8 spots? Kentucky, I thought, was a little high because we're still trying to figure out who Florida is as a team. We don't know if they're how good they really are yet.
Well, you bring up a point. You have Florida drop 6 spots, but you have Kentucky go up 11. So Florida, you're obviously saying lost to a pretty good team. So why? Yeah. I don't know. It's just weird.
I don't know.
But I don't know. Again, in the end, I don't know. I'm ready for the Final Four rankings already. Just, I mean. To me, because that's my thing. Like, to me, this really doesn't mean a whole lot because it's usually pretty different than that. What those 4 playoff team rank. I mean, I think it's around Halloween. It's probably the first one.
Yeah, so it'll be the first November.
I'd be more excited if they kind of just honestly went through with that every week.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't know. Because these, in the end, really don't say a whole lot because then they always go by the playoff rankings anyway when they release it. So just, I don't know. Let's give us a preseason 4. Who you expect, and then keep adjusting from there. I don't know. To me, that would be more exciting than the AP every week, just because in the end, this really doesn't mean a whole lot.
I wouldn't be opposed to doing like a top 5 the first 3 weeks or something, and then you start conference play. Okay, here's the top 10, and then the next week a top 15, and then top 20. So you can slowly work your way to that full top 25 or something like that. I think that could be a neat thing to look at, especially when we move to a 12-team playoff. That's going to be fun.
That would be fun. I'm ready for that.
I am too. We all are. But that will do it for today's show. As always, we thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed what you saw, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave a comment below if there's anything you agreed with us, disagreed with us, you got your own comments about what happened. Feel free to list them. As always, be sure to share the video around. Follow us here on Twitch, twitch.tv/NWTV7. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, all under the NWTV7 logo to see when we go live. And until next time, for Andrew Santangelo, I'm Cade Kennedy, and have a good one, everybody.